In all, the campaigns have scrubbed 19 separate events between the two of them. Limiting campaigning is still going on today. In fact, here's some live pictures from Jacksonville, Florida. That is where Congressman Paul Ryan is expected to kick off an event any minute from now. And joining me now, CNBC contributor and Democratic strategist Keith Boykin, NBC deputy political editor Domenico Montanaro, and Republican strategist Chip Saltzman. Domenico, let me start off with you because our first read team, the first line that you guys have up is the campaign goes on, sort of. But at this point, I mean, what does sort of apply to in that you have big events tomorrow for both campaigns canceled at this point, 19 in all, as I mentioned so far?
Well, I think this morning a lot of those events were still on, and then they decided to halt a lot of that. And the only person you saw on TV today was President Obama putting his president hat on. Man, we have 8 days to go, and those are precious days for both campaigns to get out there and be able to win over some of these undecided voters or get their voters out, especially with early voting going on. But we see right now a big pause on the campaign, and President Obama more in the spotlight, with Mitt Romney going to have to take a back seat because President Obama is in charge of the government, and that's just the way it is.
Well, and that is the way it is, but that did not stop at least some campaigning going on for the governor. And as I mentioned, you've got this event with Paul Ryan. Also, Bill Clinton today in Florida. He was supposed to be in Florida with the president. Let me play a little bit of what former President Clinton had to say. Domenico.
I was supposed to be the warm-up man for President Obama today. But that storm on the East Coast had other ideas.
But obviously, the show does go on in some capacity, Domenico. But talk to me quickly about the perils for both of them. Obviously, the president is the president. This is his responsibility to have the concern of the American people on the forefront. And what does Governor Romney do or say other than this point that he's trying to be sensitive and pull off the campaign trail tomorrow, not today?
Well, it's no accident that Bill Clinton was in Orlando. I mean, that's a key swing area right in the heart of that I-4 corridor. There was a CNN poll out today showing a 50-49 race between the two sides, pretty much a dead even race. And, you know, missing out on a day or two of trying to get people out to the polls can really hurt both campaigns. You know, Mitt Romney has to walk this fine line. So does the president, not wanting to look too political in a situation like this when you could, as Bill Cairns mentioned, see people out of power in the millions potentially for the next few days.
Yeah, and let me bring Chip in on this. And to Domenico's point, you don't want to look too political, but one thing that some have noted is that Governor Romney made a couple of phone calls to Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell and New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, two Republican governors, negating to call governors who are Democrats overseeing, you know, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people who could be impacted. Was that a bad quote-unquote call, no pun intended, to make, Chip?
No, I don't think so. And look, I think everybody's on the same page here. This storm is historic, and we don't know exactly. There's no precedent to this. And the president, I think, set the right tone in his conference. I think Governor Romney does think. I think Governor Romney called the two Republican governors that he knew he's friends with. He's been through something like this before on a much smaller level in Massachusetts when he was governor. It's important for them to get out and show. I don't think it's a bad political call. I think the only thing you can do bad over the next 7 days is be too political on this, and that's going to be the real question.
Well, let me quickly say, because I know Keith wants to get in on this, but I mean, you call your friends are the American people, not just those who have Republican governors, with all due respect there,
there's
right?
no question. Yeah, I don't think anybody is questioning that this was a partisan phone call.
Okay, well, that's what I was asking you, but you said it was a good call originally. Keith, let me get in on this, and again, I don't want to forget, and I don't want to drop the ball for a second. These are people right now. This storm has been deadly. It took many lives in the Caribbean. We know the potential here, and if it does not cause loss of life, we know damaged property and the lingering impact. With that said, what does the president need to do to show people, listen, that I'm not caught up too much in the campaign, that I've got my eye on this ball, and that ball is the American people, or the American people right now?
I think he did exactly that today in his press conference where he said the election will take care of itself. He canceled his campaign events. And, you know, the problem, though, Tamron, is that I think that Governor Romney has politicized this event. He continued campaigning today. He will continue to campaign today. Paul Ryan continues to campaign today.
But Clinton was out, as well as Biden today.
But President Obama is the president of the United States. And by the way, we only have one president. I don't like the idea of Mitt Romney trying to go around and pretend like he's president of the United States when he's not. But President President Obama canceled his campaign events. And then, Governor Romney, this is a statement about what you will do as president. That's why the storm is such an important issue. If you're president, you have to be president of all the American people. You can't be president of just New Jersey and the president of Virginia because they have Republican governors. What about Jack Markell in Delaware? What about Martin O'Malley in Maryland? What about New York's Governor Andrew Cuomo? Why didn't Mitt Romney bother to call any of those three guys? Maybe it's because he has this record where he said back in the debate last year when he was running, trying to be severely conservative, that he would actually cut FEMA funding and send it back to the states or privatize it. This is why this election is so important, why the storm issue is so important, because it illustrates the importance of government and it illustrates the two fundamentally different choices that the two candidates running for the highest office in the land are offering.
And Chip, I think we have that sound from the debate. I'll wait to find out if we have it. But at the time, Governor Romney was asked whether or not with FEMA and its financial problems, if he would cut FEMA or eliminate FEMA, and he said it would be up to the states. Chuck Todd pointed out in a state like Florida, FEMA is very popular, as is the former governor of that state, Jeb Bush, because of the help and aid given to people as a result of FEMA. We know FEMA has been criticized in the past, but in large part, people need FEMA in these kinds of crises. So when Governor Romney said at the time he would scrap FEMA, he even mentioned privatizing the aid that would be given in a situation like that. Is it fair that this comes up at this point? What would he be doing in a situation like this when he stated that he would not support FEMA?
Tamron, I think if Mitt Romney was president of the United States, he'd do anything and everything he could to protect the American people. And then after a natural disaster like this, he would be on the ground to make sure that FEMA was there to support the state, to support the local enforcement, to support the first responders, to make sure they had everything they need to protect people, to make sure they get people power back on and get everything back to normal. Look, this is a historic storm. Right. Everybody's pulling together, and this is not the time to kind of politicize those kind of issues on the fringe.
But I guess my point is not to politicize, but is it a fair question to ask in a situation like this? A lot of folks will need the help and assistance of FEMA. In that debate, the governor said that he would eliminate FEMA and even discuss the fact of private companies coming in to aid at this time. So I'm asking, is it a fair question without looking through a partisan prism?
Well, unfortunately, I think when you bring it up the day before the storm is going to hit the country, 7 days before presidential country. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. The high tide's tonight, but this is what's going to happen. You politicize it by bringing that up. Look, Mitt Romney, if he was president of the United States, he would probably be doing a lot of the same thing that Barack Obama has done. Like I said, I think Barack Obama has set the same tone. I think Mitt Romney has said, I'm going to support the president. This is one country. We're going to support all Americans on this, and this is not the time to politicize cutting FEMA or something like that.
But, Chip, that's exactly the reason why this conversation is so important. If you think that Obama and Romney would do exactly the same thing, and this is not a question about their behavior, it's a question about their policies. And the policies of one guy is saying that we will cut the funding for the programs that actually provides emergency management assistance to people in need. And the policy of another guy is saying we will actually help people in need throughout the country. So it's a fundamental question about the role of government. That's an important issue. It's not a political issue.
There's no question. It is about the role of government. And I think this is one of those things that government can do that the private sector can't do. Now, when the Governor Romney was talking about FEMA, he wasn't talking about getting rid of first responders. He wasn't talking about getting rid of FEMA. He was talking about making sure it operates better to protect more people,
but he did discuss privatizing as well. But let me give my audience an update on the important numbers right now. 25,000 people, we've just learned, Sussex County, Delaware, have been affected by the hurricane. There's a mandatory evacuation order. Just again, another number that we're getting in that is important because we're talking about lives. 25,000 people, Sussex County, Delaware, now under a mandatory evacuation order for that county and the southernmost counties in Delaware. These are live pictures right now that we're bringing in out of Delaware as well. Chip, I greatly appreciate your time. Domenico, let me bring you back in real quick before I say goodbye to Keith Boykin as well. What should we look for tomorrow since these campaign trail events have been nixed, at least for now?
Well, with the storm's impact likely to hit tomorrow the hardest, I think you're going to see both campaigns watching the weather reports as closely as we're watching the news and just seeing just how widespread this does become and just how devastating it could be, and whether or not the two campaigns decide to do anything to help or just hang back and just watch and wait and see what happens.
All right. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it. Chip, thank you. Domenico, thank you as well. Keith, I appreciate your time as well. And just